Cyberattack forces Honda to suspend global production for a day. The company detected a virus on internal servers in Tokyo. And they were saying on the sysadmin forums that it takes they had to go to each server and it took 2 hours to, put the patches on or fix whatever they needed to fix on that. And that's kind of why they were just like, hey, everybody go home. We can't be working anymore. But Daniel, do you know kind of what kind of attack this was that we were dealing with?
The only thing the article explains is that it was a virus of some sort that targeted their servers and that it discovered it on Monday, I believe.
The Independent over in the UK was actually claiming that it was a ransomware family that had hit their internal boxes. And they've apparently had ransomware issues in the past, so it wouldn't be particularly surprising if history was repeating itself.
And you'd assume in a case like this that that someone as big as Honda has, the backups and offsite and things segmented. But I guess, I don't know that process. Even if you're hit with a ransomware attack, I mean, it still takes you a lot of time to go back and restore from that. So is that kind of why that might have been the case where they send people home for the day?
Well, absolutely, because you've got a lot of scoping to do to understand exactly how far that piece of malware spread inside your network. You've got to make sure that you know what pieces of the backups to be restoring. You've got to, also be clear that once you've got the boxes that were hit cleaned off, that they're all the way cleaned off and that they're not continuing to beacon out or, otherwise cause problems that might result in a further flare up of the malware within the network.
I mean, as far as malware targets, this seems like they got a chunk of change. So, I mean,
well, if they have the backups, though, I mean, you're not necessarily, they're not paying probably.
Yeah, but the thing is think about all the high-profile companies that you're like, of course they have great IT practices, and then they're like, well, actually, we don't.
We regret to inform you.
My bad. We're full of a bunch of people.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is just to assume that a company is competent at security because they're large is an absolute fallacy. I've worked with a number of brand name companies over my decade plus in security, and some of them do a really good job and some of them do a really terrible job. And
Sony,
the question is, kind of how they fall on that scale and how they're going to deal with the disaster recovery from a network perspective.
Yeah, there was an update, looks like today, from Honda spokesman that says, they experienced an attack and it affected production. However, there's no current evidence of loss of PII. So they lost all the non-personal identifiable information probably. But it's interesting, it says it actually affected not just internal servers, but things on their inspection lines and stuff like that. So, I mean, I guess that's the issue now when you have these factories that are, completely digital robotic things along the line is, it's not just affecting the financials and things like that. We're shutting down the whole assembly line because of something like this. So that's a little scary.
I would think in that industry, that would just be like a safety precaution just because you don't know what the malware is going to do. So you would hate for someone to get hurt because the malware even inadvertently did something to the machines.
I guess it could make it onto the car, with so much software in the cars these days.
Right.
I mean, it's unlikely given the architectural differences in the car software and hardware versus what you have on a standard internal server somewhere. But, what could be happening is there's just enough convergence between the production networks and the IT networks that you had a system that resided on that production network get popped and was causing problems just doing it, scanning and other tricks inside, even if they weren't necessarily successful. And that would be enough to, shut down what is often a very fragile IT infrastructure for SCADA and, manufacturing sort of setups. I've seen things fall over just by being telnetted too. So you'd be shocked at how easy it is to knock over a manufacturing line.
If you enjoyed that segment, be sure to check out our entire podcast available in the playlist right here. And you can always subscribe to stay up to date with the latest tech news and other happenings in the IT world. Be sure to tune in every Thursday for new episodes. I hope to see you there.